and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Outstanding Parents here at Huda TV. I'm Nazir bin Nasib, one of the founders of OutstandingMuslimParents.com, and really excited to share with you what we have today. But before we do so, I just want to remind you that this zone we're in, for parents, this is the outstanding zone where we encourage you to be outstanding. Because why be average? Especially when you understand that average is nothing but the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. All right. Now, as always, I encourage you to have something to write with and something to write on, because we believe you should trust a short pencil over a long memory any day. All right. Now, today, inshallah ta'ala, what we want to do is go through a number of different tips, because sometimes we go deep into the values and the belief systems and the references and the rules and so on. So sometimes it's just easier to go through a number of different tips that covers everybody in a broad base. So whether you have young children or whether you have children that are here, your height, or even taller, then it's easy to go ahead and take advantage of some of these tips and figure out what's best for you right now in your family, something that's just short and sweet, inshallah ta'ala. So, as always, my number one thing is to intimately love your family. Okay? Now, I know you probably love your family, you love your family deeply, but there's always room for more showing of affection. So hugs, kisses, if you need some specific times to hug and kiss your children, listen, do it in the morning. Do it in the morning after they wake up, after you wake up. All right, do it after Salah, as we call the after Salah recharge at Outstanding Muslim Parents. You know, it's the after Salah recharge. It's when you hug each other, tell each other you love each other. It's when you charge each other up with oxytocin, if you will. And, it builds that closeness and connection every single time you do it. And alhamdulillah, the good part is, as a parent, we could always just tell our children what we need. So if they're not feeling good, we ask for a hug because we need the hug. And indeed we do, but the child may also need it as well. And either or, everyone benefits. Well, alhamdulillah. So another one, constant reinforcement. Touching, pat on the back. I kind of grip my children's head sometimes and shake them back and forth. All right, so whether it's reinforcement like that, they're doing good, or just seeing them and giving a good smile, show them that you're proud of them, for example. So alhamdulillah, that's not a hard thing to do. Constant reinforcement and nonverbal communication is essential. Nonverbal communication is essential not only during a disciplinary time where you want to get a point across that they need to stop something by giving them the look. Some parents, we all have different types of looks. My father had a look. My mother has a look. So all of us have a certain look. But you know what? It's also good to have that good look. So sometimes I just look at my children in an admirable way, just to catch them doing something good and show them, alhamdulillah, that I'm grateful for them, without even saying a word, just a nice look. So practice that. These are some very easy tips. Doesn't matter how old they are at all or how young they are. Okay, but of course when they're younger, we take more advantage because we can scoop them up and squeeze them and bite on their legs and knees and elbows and all that kind of stuff and kiss them all over the place. All right, but as they get older, they still need that same affection, need that same love. Maybe not in the same fashion. You're not going to scoop up a teenager and bite on the knees and elbows and all that kind of stuff. But you can still give them the affection. You can still pat them on the back, rub them on the head. All right, still give them that good look of appreciation and let them know that you're proud of them. So, again, that's very important. That's the very first tip we're going to do today. Now, the second one, I encourage all the time. Okay, this is where you play the Quran, or have the Quran playing in your home. All right, home, workplace, really doesn't matter. You know what? Wherever you could have the sound of Quran just throughout the house, just providing that peaceful atmosphere. Things are a little differently when you hear the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you can listen to it from your favorite qari. Okay, there's websites like the one I like best, that seems to be the simplest, is Halal Tunes. You go to halaltunes.com. You can choose between, I think there's maybe about 20 different reciters of Quran. You know, so you can choose who you like. I believe Saad Al-Hamdi, I really like his pronunciation, his recitation. So we listen to his in my home. And it's mandatory that is on, especially at night. And we start with Surah Al-Baqarah. And it wakes up after Salatul Isha, and in the morning, Salatul Fajr is still going. So Salatul Tahajjud, the Quran is just playing all throughout the home. And that provides a peaceful atmosphere. And at the same time, it also establishes fond neural pathways for your children and your family. So when they hear the Quran playing, they might have been distressed or stressed out or arguing or something like that. But when they hear it in a comfortable time in their home, it helps them to relax. And anytime they will hear the Quran recited, they think about home and think about family. And inshallah ta'ala, they carry that tradition on. So if you don't have access to it, then recite Quran, recite Surah Al-Baqarah, as we are encouraged to do that, to keep our homes, you know, free from the shayateen. So that's a very, very simple tip. Very simple tool, let alone we receive the barakah just for listening to Quran. Whether or not you understand it, of course we strive as Muslims to try to understand the Arabic in order to understand the Quran better, to get a clearer, more crystal understanding of our deen. But just the fact of hearing the Quran gets barakah for you, gets blessings for you and your family. And we need as much as we can. And there's nothing like getting passive blessings, meaning to put something on just to listen to it. You don't have to strain, you don't have to do much but listen. It's not like you even have to open your ears. Your ears are already created in that fashion. SubhanAllah. So grab as many passive blessings as possible. The next I would suggest is to teach about your family, your relatives' history. Teach about your parents, your grandparents, share stories from your childhood. All right, go back as far as you can go back, but share this, whether it be every other day or on a weekly basis. Share something that your children can relate to. Let them hear stories of what happened. Let them hear when you were younger, at times that, of course, they weren't around, they weren't even thought about. You know, they know us as their parents and really only their parents. But when they hear stories of how, usually from our parents, their grandparents, of how we were when we were younger, they get a kick out of it. They may hear it from their uncles and aunts and so on, about what we did when we were younger, or how they remind us of a younger version of ourselves. So share these stories, build closeness amongst your family. This is especially important for those who embrace and accept Islam, because the family lineage is important. The tree that we come from is important. This is the gene pool Allah Ta'ala chose. So we come from this specific line. Find out. So it is not more important, but it's very important to find out. And share these stories, share some fond memories. But the reason I say it's so important, especially for those who have embraced and accepted Islam, because now there's a change amongst this tree. If you've accepted Islam, it's likely your parents may not be Muslim, or grandparents, or so on and so forth. And may Allah Ta'ala, if they're still living, allow an opportunity to, accept Islam and to come to the truth and the guidance of this deen. But now you've changed. Something's going on. This tree is no longer going on that same thing of kufr, the same foundation that may have been built on, whether it's great-grandparents or whoever they trace the beginning of the roots of the family tree to. Now, alhamdulillah, something happened. Somebody says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Somebody became Muslim. Now this changes. Now this really branches off and starts your own thing. So teach about this family. Teach about your relative base. Teach about where they come from. Share those stories. Build that closeness and fondness with your family. Okay, so alhamdulillah, that's the third tip. The fourth one is relatively easy, especially with the ease of technology today. And that is listen to an Islamic lecture and discuss how it applies in today's situation. So listen to an Islamic lecture and discuss how it applies. So when you listen, get the lessons from it. That's not hard to do. It doesn't matter if you go online. There are many different videos, whether it's on YouTube or other video sites. Whether you go and you listen to something at the masjid on a weekly basis, you attend a halaqah, and discuss how it applies today. That's the key. Okay, because you can listen to something and it can seem theoretical and maybe it applied in the past. And when we don't draw the reference of how it applies today, then there's a disconnect. We have to do this with our family. We have to do it with our children. It shows a number of different things. The first thing it shows is that we are continuing our own education. We're not just telling them to do something so they do it and go on. We're doing it, we're learning at the same time, and we're including them in on the conversation. Alhamdulillah, a good friend of mine had shared that his mother would ask him questions when he was younger. She would say, what does Islam say about this? Or what happened with Salman al-Farsi? Or what happened during this ghazwat? And he would be cheerful to answer, oh, Ummi, this is what happened. And he would go and he would answer the question. And he felt good. He felt that he was teaching his mother, or he was reminding her. But he didn't know she was teaching him. So she didn't know, or he didn't know, that she was actually teaching him. She was quizzing him, and that was her way to do it. She was ingraining in him that he needs to learn in case she needs to know. But alhamdulillah, that caused him to have some pride, caused him to take his studies deeper and learn more because he felt he was also teaching his mother. Well, alhamdulillah, we have to have that same type of wisdom. The fifth thing is to choose a Muslim hero. Choose a Muslim hero to talk about and ask them if they know anyone with these characteristics. And inshallah ta'ala, once we come back from break, then we'll share just a few different examples. And when I say a Muslim hero, don't get caught all up on the word hero. But we'll talk about it, inshallah, and how you can implement this in your family and really make a change for the better. So, see you in a few moments, inshallah. Stay tuned. Ma'as-salam.
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Welcome to another live edition of Huda Tonight. This program provides some of the latest news and information from around the Muslim world, and also discussions about topics that are important for Muslim life.
Brothers and sisters, the Islamic perspective on divorce. It's an outlet which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made halal for any relationship that has gone sour or an abusive relationship. But this principle of divorce has its rules and has its procedures.
For our first news item for the news segment tonight, we're going to go to the United States, the state of Kansas, the Muslim community there in the United States, the state of Kansas. The city is Kansas City.
Talk is communication. In order to communicate, you have to make sure that exactly you tell or you told the other or the partner the real thing about yourself.
Tonight we're going to talk about, inshallah, Abdullah ibn Abbas. And what I wanted to start off with, we all know that he was very young when the Prophet ﷺ passed away. So let's start from the beginning, from his youth.
Time is very important and precious. Many of us in our youth and the Muslim Ummah doesn't know the value of time. And even if we think we know, sometimes we face difficulty and challenges understanding and managing your schedule on a daily basis.
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Well, alhamdulillah, right before the break, we talked about choosing a Muslim hero and talking about them and asking if they know anyone that has those type of characteristics. Well, what I mean by Muslim hero is that a Muslim that is actually taking action and doing something, whether they're alive or not, whether they're from the early generations, mid-generations, relatively new in the last century or so, or again, currently living. So find someone that you would consider a Muslim hero and talk about their life. Talk about different things that they've done, different contributions that they've made, and also discuss it. And ask, do you know people like this? Do you know people with these same type of characteristics? I mean, one thing you'll find amongst many of the ulama is they're driven and they're very disciplined. So when it comes to their idea of study and being on it consistently and not letting anything distract them, do you know anyone else that's driven today? Do you know anyone else that does not allow simple distractions? Discuss it. Find out the good about that. And try to implement these things in your life. Very simple to do, not hard. Find a Muslim hero, not difficult. Now, the sixth thing I would say is a historical fact. A historical fact from Islam share a glorious fact about Islam's history and explain its importance. Glorious fact. A simple example would be Umar bin al-Khattab in the opening of Philistine, when he was invited to come through and how he was received. You know, share this fact. Share how he was coming through with one of his servants, and they would share on the camel back and forth. You know, and people were amazed by it, because by the time he got, I believe, to Jerusalem, Al-Quds, he was walking in and his servant was on the camel, and people were really confused by that because they didn't do that. And to see how his clothes were at the time and so on and so forth. You know, when a companion had let him know, Omar, you know, you should wear some different clothes and so on because these people have this and that. And he had responded that, you know, Islam is what honored us, not this other stuff. He didn't play. So share a glorious fact from Islam, show the beauty of it, and discuss it. How it applies to this day. What characteristics do we see in them? What light did they have that we want to try to go ahead and get knowledge from and information? So very, very simple to do. Islam is shining with examples. So that was just one I just thought of, right? Let's talk about doing a family affirmation daily and probably creating some type of secret handshake or code word with your family. This is just something with your children, with your spouse that, you know, you have under your family name. Like one of the things I do, and all of us can do it because it's built into where we are. It's even built in with our names. One of the things I say quite frequently with my family, then I have them repeat it, my sons and my daughters. Well, alhamdulillah, those that can speak. All right, at least my youngest one can't speak right now. But I say, you know, I'm Nazir, son of Nasib of the family Al-Mujaahid. And alhamdulillah, that's an honorable thing. That denotes Islam, and then there's a definition for Nazir. Nazir is the warner, the vanguard, the one who goes front to warn the people, let them know. Bin Nasib, that's the son of Nasib. That means my father was Muslim. And alhamdulillah, he came from darkness to light when he accepted Islam. He accepted Islam after I did. And Al-Mujaahid, the one who fights for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now I'm Nazir bin Nasib. I'm sorry. I'm Nazir bin Nasib, yes, but I'm Nazir, son of Nasib of the family Al-Mujaahid. What if your children did the same thing? Would it build some type of gratefulness in them for their deen and the meaning of their names? Will they know the meaning of their names instead of just it being a name, or they changing it from Nasir to Victor when they come to the West because they think Victor's, you know, that's the meaning of the name Nasir technically, but it doesn't hold the same significance. It's amazing because I'm from the West, born in the West, and change my name and make other people from the West say my name. And many times I see Muslims who come to the West and they change their names to become westernized names, which is pretty weird because the Western people figure that you probably have a name from like back in your home country. So there's no need to change the name to something else to make it easier for them. We want to have the best and the most honorable names with the strongest meanings. So develop a family affirmation. One of the things we used to do when I took my children to Muslim school, like I said previously, I said, hey, we would all put our hands in together so our hands were all on top of each other. He said, you know, all for one and one for all. We believe in La ilaha illallah. And then we go 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, put our arms up and everybody gives hugs in the kitchen. They would file out of the minivan because we know Muslims have minivans. They have kids and lots of minivans. When you go to a masjid parking lot, you see minivans everywhere, right? Well, alhamdulillah, they would file on out. But this is an affirmation that put them in a good, resourceful state. So develop an affirmation for your family. All right, have them be proud of their name, proud in being grateful, not proud with arrogance. Okay? Try that. Alhamdulillah. Number 8 is to read to them 5 pages or 10 pages a day of an Islamic book. 5 or 10 pages from an Islamic book, whether it be the Quran, whether it be like a book like Riyadh al-Salihin, whether it is the Sahih Bukhari, just 5 to 10 pages a day. That's all. You know, 5 pages a day, there's 150 pages a month. So, you know, the average book is a couple hundred pages. You're finishing about a book a month. Every single day, 5 pages. Reading with them or having them read to you. One of the sweetest things I hear from my children is when they recite Quran to me. When I ask my daughters to recite. When I ask my son to recite. And they recite, and it's sweet. This is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I never heard coming up. That I never spoke coming up. But now in our children, the speech of Allah Ta'ala comes from them. And they know more than we knew because I accepted Islam when I was about, what, 16, 17 years old? You know, my oldest isn't even 17 yet. She's close, but not yet. So the knowledge that she has and what's been invested and poured into our children as opposed to where we were is not only life-changing, it is a whole nother level. Walhamdulillah, walhamdulillah. So 5 to 10 pages a day makes a huge distinction and difference in your family life. Now, number 9, choose a sahabiyat and share her story and the lessons from it. And I made this to be specific because it doesn't matter whether you have sons or daughters. But choose a female companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, share her story. Choose a story of any of Mu'mineen, for example. Choose a story of the sisters that, you know, they wanted, it was a shameful thing. It was a shameful thing when lots of the Muslims would come back from battle. They would come back from battle, and the children and the women many times would be, you know, they would be upset. Why are you coming back? Thought you wanted to be Shahada. We wanted you to be Shaheed. Why are you coming back? That's the greatest honor. Share stories of these early generations. Share stories of the strong women in this deen. Share stories of the scholarship of the women in this deen. Now, women in general are strong to be able to give birth and hold down a family and do so many different things. Well, alhamdulillah, it's amazing because when you study the brain, the men's brain is a little larger than the woman's brain. But when a woman's brain operates, it operates more evenly on both sides. Where the men's, interestingly enough, is not focused on the left side, it's more on the right side when it operates. But the woman's is more evenly balanced. SubhanAllah. So her emotional makeup and everything is more balanced than ours. We have to appreciate that. So choose a story of the Sahabiyat. Choose a Sahabi, a female companion of the Prophet ﷺ. Talk about it, discuss it, read the story, learn it. Develop love and affection and affinity towards it. And the last I'm going to talk about is to easily just choose the story of a companion, of a Sahaba, of a Sahabi. Choose the story of a Sahabi, talk about the lessons. All right, now we know many different stories. We know, I mentioned Salman al-Farsi because he went on such an ardent journey. He traveled and dealt with so much fitna, and he kept it, he hung in there, and Allah Ta'ala answered his dua. I talked to a brother last night, a Nasheed artist, Omar Dubois, alhamdulillah, very good brother, very beautiful, beautiful voice. It's the first time meeting him, but we know a lot of acquaintances. And alhamdulillah, he had a Nasheed that really touched me last night. But when I talked to him, he's only been Muslim a few years, maybe 5 years. So as we were talking, we were discussing, you know, how he accepted Islam and had come to Islam. He said, you know, I was seeking the truth. And it's amazing because when I talk to people who accept Islam, all right, and they convert to Islam or revert to Islam, whatever you like to call it, I'll just say embrace Islam, is that usually is the number one characteristic. The number one thing they do is they sought out to find the truth. That's it. Same thing I did. I wanted to find the truth. I wasn't looking for Islam. Matter of fact, when someone initially tried to introduce me to Islam, I didn't want any parts of it. I said, I don't want to deal with this. That's too disciplined. You know, I wanted my lifestyle. I don't want to deal with that. You know, I was a savage pretty much. I mean, I was thinking just like a savage. I was behaving like one. But I said, you know what? There's a God. I know there's a God. I studied all kinds of stuff. I studied old, ancient, Hamitic Egyptian religions. I looked at a number of Hamitic things, and when they said, you know, there's no beginning and no end stuff that was there, no, I knew that wasn't going to work. Even though I was raised Christian, I mean, Christian kindergarten, all the way up to 10th grade in school. And the thing that really led me to Islam was actually studying the Bible. Studying it, knowing that, according to the Bible, Jesus never said I'm God, never said I'm the Son of God, none of this stuff. So since he never said any of this, it led me to look at what he did say. And consistently I saw my Father, your Father, my God, your God, my Lord, your Lord, so on and so forth, which said, you know what, I can't worship this man anymore because someone else started that. And the crazy thing is the person who started that was the same person who killed people who followed him. And knowing my family history and knowing about slavery in the United States and stuff like that, I noticed that, you know, there's a thing of physical slavery and then mental slavery. So I equated that to being mental slavery. If you can't kill all of them physically, which you won't be able to do, it'd be best to trap them mentally and change their beliefs. And that's pretty much what happened, in my opinion, after the year 70 when Pauline Christianity took over as opposed to Judeo-Christianity. But nevertheless, choose a Sahabi, listen to their story, learn about their story, see the lessons that we can take from it, and become closer to them. That's the 10th tip that we have for you. So, alhamdulillah, use these tips, and I'll recap them very quickly. 1, hugs and kisses and affection for your family. 2, reciting and playing Quran in your home. 3, teaching about your family history, your relatives and history. 4, listen to an Islamic lecture and discuss the lessons. 5, choose a Muslim hero to talk about and their characteristics. 6, a glorious historical fact from Islam. 7, family affirmations, secret handshake, something like that. 8, read 5 to 10 pages a day. 5 to 10 a day. 150 to 300 pages a month. 9, choose a sahabiyat. Talk about it, learn more about it, get the lessons from it. 10, choose a sahabi. Get the lessons, learn more about it. Very simple to anchor yourself in Islam and the characteristics, but most importantly, you're making it relevant to right now. You're putting it on your nervous system right now to become part of your life and your children's life. And you're opening up a world and you're doing it with them. Not telling them to do it so you're ignorant, but you're doing it with them. Alhamdulillah, as much as possible. Or you have them do it and have them teach it to you, because now they have to learn it even better. So alhamdulillah, we want you to take these lessons, take these tips, whichever ones you can do immediately, do immediately. Do today. Put it on a calendar tonight so you can start it in the morning. Do some research now. Do what you must. And as always, we encourage you to go and get the worksheets that you can put and look at the resources we have and the outlines and stuff like that we have for this episode just for you. Well, alhamdulillah. You can find that at outstandingmuslimparents.com/10 tips. That's 10 tips. So outstandingmuslimparents.com/10 tips. So alhamdulillah, we appreciate you being here. Always remember that a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. I'm Nazir, son of Nasib of the family Al-Mujaahid, signing off. Ma'as-salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
While my world was crumbling down, and you tried your best to shelter me from the coming of the storm, you opened my eyes to see that all hope was not gone. You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad.